Hey there, it's Kimberly here with Knit for Brains. Well, today we're going to be talking about what happens when your favorite yarn goes away. It's going to be a very sad episode. No, it's not. Stay tuned. Hey there. Well, thanks for joining me today. This is Kimberly with Knit for Brains. And recently I had a subscriber say, what do you do when your favorite yarn goes out of stock? Like, what are your favorite discontinued yarns? And I was like, that was very sad. I don't like it when a yarn's discontinued. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about it. So here we go. Yeah, I have some yarns that I have absolutely loved working with. And when they're gone, I'm like, but please. And I have actually had to scour not only internet, Etsy, Ravelry, like behind stores, not really, trying to find the yarn. But I brought out a couple of my favorites that have been discontinued or kind of hard to get a hold of for one reason or another. But let's talk about some substitutions. So just because something is gone doesn't necessarily mean you can't find it pretty close somewhere else. And then sometimes I think we just have to acknowledge and admit that, it was a good run. I loved the relationship, but oftentimes things just need to come to an end and we need to be able to recognize that. But let's dig into the good stuff. So this yarn, and I talked about this for a while, I was addicted to this yarn, and I still am because I got a huge amount in my stash. Lions brand Schitt's Creek. Now, maybe because I really started learning and teaching myself how to crochet and knit during COVID. I crocheted and knit before, but I wasn't as serious as I am now. And it really started turning around for me during COVID. I was working in healthcare and it was a rough time. I was working in a hospital and I needed to have, like my comfort space and therapy. And so I would come home and I would knit and I would crochet and I would touch really soft yarns and I would watch reruns and seasons of Golden Girls and Schitt's Creek, and I think I probably did some Friends, but it was mostly Golden Girls and Schitt's Creek. So when they brought out this yarn, Schitt's Creek, and there's even a little bit of trivia inside the yarn label, and I was like, oh, I'm in. I loved it. Now, not only that, but I loved the squishiness of this yarn. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. It's 100% acrylic, so it's a budget yarn. It's got a little bit of a sheen going on, if you can see that. So it's really soft. And for an acrylic, and it's also anti-pilling, even though people go, it's not on the label. It isn't on the label, but I don't believe it's on the label. At least I don't remember it being on the label. But it is. It's an anti-pilling, and it's really soft and it's squishy, and it's not your typical acrylic. And sometimes you come across a yarn, it's an acrylic, and you're like, oh, I know why it's acrylic. It has kind of that oily, squeaky feel to it, or it's scratchy. We're not going to mention any names like the heart that's red. But it had enough structure that it wasn't so slippery like Karen Soft. I don't like Karen Soft because it's too slippery, and for me it splits too much, and I don't like working with it. And it's just kind of like flimsy. It's just too flimsy for me. It's soft, but anyways, so I liked this. I liked the structure. I liked the softness of it. I love the colors because the colors all tied in to the show Schitt's Creek. This color here was called Fold in the Butter, I think. No, Fold in the Cheese. Hold on, let me tell you. It was called Fold in the Cheese. If you know, then you know. Anyways, I also love the yardage on these guys. So this guy here, it comes in, it's a weight of a 4. I told you it's 100% acrylic. It's a 7-ounce, 200-gram ball of goodness here. 372 yards. It's a lot. 340 meters. Is a lot of yarn in here. And they didn't have a ton of colors. They probably had, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 colors that all tied in with the show. They had a black, they had a white, they had a couple grays, they had kind of an oatmeal brown, this yellow, a Kelly green, just going off the top of my head. because I have all the colors. Oh, there was a rosebud color. There was a jeans, Bob's Garage, you know, different things like that. Not a ton. It wasn't a huge breadth of color, but I loved it. And so when it got discontinued, I was a hot mess, let me tell you. I actually even reached out to the owner and CEO of Lion Brand Yarn, and I said, please tell me what's going on. And he was so nice, and he got back to me, and he said, okay, we're really sorry, but yeah, it is being discontinued. But if you like it, then you should check out our basic stitch. Okay, fine. So I ordered some basic stitch, and let me tell you guys, it's the same. And if you don't believe me, I did a comparison a couple year or two back on the two yarns. I do have some basic stitch with me. It's not the same color that I'm holding here, but this is basic stitch. And I'm telling you right now, it's the same yarn. There's even, I think there was one called the Rosebud Motel, which was kind of a blushy pink, and they had the same color in the basic stitch. It's this they promote, they tout as being anti-pilling. So that's why I'm like, this is anti-pilling, this is also anti-pilling. Basic stitch by Lion Brand, same thing. The only difference is going to be in the yardage. So the Schitt's Creek, as I told you, has 372 yards, right? The basic stitch is also a weight of 4, but the yardage, depending, because there's a couple different styles. There's one that's like a heathered, I think, and there's one that's sort of a variegated, like a twist. So depending on which, and then of course they have all the solids, depending on which one you go with, the yardage is going to vary between 150 to 118 yards, or 105 to 170 yards. But that's it. That is the difference. So that means basically you'd have to get like 2, 3 potentially of these guys to equal one of these. But the good news is there's a ton of more colors in this one. I think there's like 30 to 40 of this. And this comes in at $3.99. So it's a great budget-friendly option. And they do have the colors for these in this line. Maybe not this exact yellow, but it was okay. So I ain't hating it. And I get it. You know, I mean, the Schitt's Creek show, when it was on, it was huge. It was really popular. But you can't have it forever. I mean, you know, you can only run it for so long. And there was probably some kind of a promotional campaign that was going on. About a year ago, Lion's Brand was also doing a campaign with Stranger Things, that show that was on Netflix, a kind of creepy 80s show. And they had a blanket or a pattern or something like that was Stranger Things, and it was tied in, and then that went on clearance. So, you know, they do these things. It's a promotional thing that they do to, you know, to tie in, and I get that. And when it's gone, it's gone. So am I sad this is gone? Yeah. Do I have a lot in my stash? I do. I have a lot of it. And so, you know, I'll be sad when my last ball goes away, but it's okay. I'm all right for right now. But anyway, so this was my Lion's Brand Schitt's Creek story. This one I find really interesting. And I'm going to talk to you about a secret that I think I found. Lion's Brand is really good about not necessarily rebranding, but kind of, you know, like pigeonholing the yarns into different areas and having it be the same yarn. Case in point, I love their jeans line, jeans yarn line. It is 100% acrylic. So again, it's your budget line. This is coming in at $6.99 per ball, and it's very limited in the colors. There's like faded stovetop, which is like a black color. Then there's faded jean. This is called Stonewash. Then they have like a deep one, like a new denim. So it's maybe like 5 or 6 colors. And they even have this color here in the jeans as well. It was some kind of coppery color, okay, in the jeans. Now, these balls, as I said, are 100% acrylic. They are a Lion's Brand favorite. They are 100 grams. It's a weight of a 4, 246 yards or 225 meters, and they come in at $6.99 a ball. Now, these are not going away. You can get these on Amazon. You can get them on Lion's Brand. You can get them pretty much everywhere. Even some of our complimentary lines, like our companies like We Crochet has this, I believe. So you can find this anywhere. And I don't think it's going away. It's been around for a really long time. Again, it is not a promotional. They're not tying into any kind of campaign. Love this yarn. It has a little bit of a sheen to it. It kind of feels the same. So they're probably coming up with the same yarn and then they're just changing the colors to make it whatever. I love the variegation in this. So I'm a huge fan of this guy here. But here's what I found that was sort of interesting. They have another line that I also love called Heartland. Heartland talks about all the colors are named after the national parks, right? This one here, I believe, is called, is it the Grand Canyon? Yes, it's called Grand Canyon. Love this oatmeal color. 100% acrylic, right? Now let's talk about the difference between these two. The balls are different, right? This is jeans. This is Heartland. Heartland is also weight of a 4, 142 grams, 251 yards in a ball. 251 to 251 to 246. Okay, so pretty gosh darn close. 225 meters to 230. Almost identical. Now, the colors, obviously, this is going to have a lot of the earthy tones. As a matter of fact, I believe this is in the Heartland line, even though I said it was in the jeans line. The jeans has a very similar color, but it's about the same. So the jeans line has, again, think blue jeans, right? Think all different types of blue jeans. So the color scheme itself is rather limited. This one is called Stovepipe. So it's got a black color, but again, they're all kind of this little bit of heathered, not a variegated, but a heathered yarn. Smaller balls, but I love it. And it's really soft. Lion Brand does a great job with their acrylic yarns. They're soft. They're not scratchy. They're not pilly. They're going to wash up really well. I think they do a really, really good job with their acrylic yarns. This color here is called Brand New. So think of a brand new pair of jeans. This is what you've got going on. I have woven with this on my loom, and I have knitted with it, and I've crocheted with it, and I love it. Especially when I wove with it, it was awesome. I made seat covers, head rest covers rather, for my brother-in-law's couch. And I thought, this is perfect. It's because he lives in England, so it's not going to be scratchy like wool. But it's also, it's going to be, somewhat absorbent, and it's not super shiny, and it's going to wash up really great. So I'm super happy with it. He was too, so that was good. And this one here is called Stonewash jeans. And just shades of blue, right? This one here is called Faded Denim, or just Faded. And this one is called Vintage. So see here, all the different blues. And there's probably a couple other ones maybe that I'm missing. I don't know, maybe I've got them all. And then this one here, again, is kind of, there was like a brass buttons or something like that. So again, love it. Now the Heartland, as I was saying, the colors are named after the national parks. So Carlsbad Caverns they have. This is called Grand Canyon. I mean, they have all the different colors. It's the same yarn. There is one called, I believe it's called Carlsbad Caverns, that is a blue color of some description. But I love working with the Heartland. So once again, if you're like, neither one of these, I believe, are going away. Lions Brand has had these out for a really, really long time. This one, they call it Lion Brand Favorite. That makes me think it's not going away anytime soon. And this one here is, well, it just says it's been established Lions Brand Heartland 7. So I don't think either one of these are going to be going away. These are going to be their cornerstone yarns, if you will. So, if you're afraid of a yarn going away, like this was, then don't use it. Find something like their cornerstone yarns, like their Heartland, their Wool Ease, their mandalas. The mandalas are probably going to change the colors and the types of the mandala yarns, but they're always going to have the mandala yarn, the different colors, the longer variations, all that kind of stuff. And they're probably not going to go away with this one either. But I love this yarn. It's wonderful to, like I said, to weave with, crochet. It doesn't split. To knit with. It doesn't pill. I can't speak enough about Lions Brand. If I'm talking about acrylics, I love, love, love Lion Brand yarns. So these guys aren't going anywhere. These are some of my favorites, but even if you can't find what you're looking for in like the Heartland colors, you might want to take a look at their jeans line. Or maybe there's something else. But again, these to me, they look pretty gosh darn similar. And the yardage is pretty close. As I said, the yardage on the jeans comes in at 246 yards per ball, and the Heartland comes in at 251. Whatever. And even the price. So interestingly enough, the price comes in at $7.49 for the Heartland yarn. It's currently on sale, so it may not be on sale when you watch this video, but you know what? It's always on sale. It's currently on sale for $5.24. And then the jeans is $6.99. So it's a little bit cheaper than this is because you get a little bit less yardage. But again, if it's on sale, you're actually going to be getting this cheaper. So, you know, do the math, do your homework. All right. So that's the Lion Brand that I was loving. Let's talk about, this is a yarn that I fell in love with last year, a couple years back. Toni Lipsey. Huge Toni Lipsey fan. Love her, love her. Followed her for a long time. And she does a lot of co-branding with different companies. She did a great co-brand with about 3, maybe 2 or 3 yarns with Hobbii or Hobbii. I don't know how I say Hobbii, you know, the yarn line that is out of the Netherlands. And she came up with this Happy Place yarn. And I loved it. I loved the, they call it melange, but again, it's kind of that Heatherly look to it. This is a 50-50 blend of cotton and wool. Okay. It comes in, so this is a weight of a 3, which it's on the thicker side of a 3, I would say. I mean, it could easily be a thin 4. So your 3s and your 4s, I mean, it's not an exact science. I know they say it depends on the ply, but it's going to depend on the actual yarn that you're using, right? This is cotton and wool, so it's going to be a little bit firmer structured than it is with the acrylic. But if you look at these two, like this is a weight of a 4, and this is a weight of a 3. And if you look at the two strands together, they don't look too dissimilar. They look pretty close, if you ask me. And you know, not like I'm the end all, but that's my opinion. All right. So this is a 50-50 blend of cotton and wool. One ball of this is 100 grams. It comes in at 273 yards or 250 meters. Okay. And I love this. I love anything that has cotton. As you know, I'm always about natural fibers. For the most part, I mean, I see that, but I'm showing you a bunch of acrylic that I've got. But for the most part, when it comes to making garments specifically, I really like working with a cotton and, you know, like a natural fiber. I like cottons because they tend to be a lot lighter. And we live in Southern California, and so we don't get all the drastic winters that I'm sure a lot of you get, and I'm sorry, we don't. But we do travel, and so I don't need to be making heavy sweaters for myself here in Southern California. But I do like to have, you know, we do get some weather, we get some, and I like to have some, you know, warmer clothes and sweaters and things like that. But even still, I don't need it to be this heavy, thick wool. So that's why I really like, if I'm going to be working with the wool, I would like it to be a lighter wool or mixed with something like a cotton. That's why I really liked this. This is still available, but because it was a collaboration with Toni and Hobbii, I don't know how long it's going to be out there. I'm not buying any new balls, but I have quite a few, but I really like it. I like the colors. I like the heather. We're doing a lot of these kind of earthy tones, more neutral, right? Not a lot of, even the brighter brights are still somewhat muted in her line. So I really dig that. But recently I came across this yarn by We Crochet and I love it. And it reminded me of the Hobbii yarn, the Happy Place yarn from Toni Lipsey. So I brought it out. Now this is the Happy Place. This is another ball that I've got. And this again, it's a weight of a 3. It's a cotton and a wool blend, equal parts. But then I got this yarn from We Crochet. Now this is their Heatherly line. Now their Heatherly line comes in a sports weight as well as a worsted weight. And I don't think there's any other weights. These are the two that I have, worsted, sport and worsted. So sport is going to come in at a weight of about a 2. And worsted is going to come in at a weight of a 4. 2 and a 4. And this is definitely it's not a heavy 4, but it's definitely a 4 for sure. And this one here is a weight of a 2. Let me show you. Okay. I was thinking, because I like to walk in my craft room, I kind of walk around, I touch the yarns, and then through that I get inspired with what I'm going to make next. And I thought, gosh, this Heatherly reminds me of something. I wonder what it reminds me of. And I was like, oh, boom, look at this. Look at these two. So I'm going to compare these two, totally different companies, and it's a different blend. So while this is a 50-50 cotton and wool, and this is a weight of a 3, this is a weight of a 2, right? It's 80% acrylic and it's 20% merino wool. So it has no cotton in it, but it does have the wool. So it's going to have more of that structured fiber, right? And ply than just 100% acrylic. The acrylic is how you get it to be, affordable and machine washable and easy to use and wear and all kinds of things like that. And I'm loving this new Heatherly yarn. So the Happy Place, as I told you, is a 100-gram ball coming in at 273 yards or 250 meters, 50-50. It's in stock, but the colors are limited in the scope. I think there's maybe, I'm just off the top of my head, maybe 10 or 15 of these colors. Could be wrong, right? This Heatherly comes in. Now I'm showing you the sport because to me this is the closest match to the Hobbii yarn. This here is a weight of a 2. It's a 100-gram ball, which this is also a 100-gram ball. This comes in at $328 yards. It does not give me meters, but again, it's 80% acrylic and 20% wool. So the Happy Place yarn comes in at $12.50 per ball, and that includes all the duties and taxes because it comes from the Netherlands. Now, I think because they have the solids and they have the melange. This is a melange, and then they've got their solids. And there's probably about maybe 24, 30 colors. So a really good variety of this color, but it does come in at $12.50 per ball. The Heatherly Sports yarn comes in at, normally it's $8.99 per ball, and each ball is 328 yards. 328 yards for the sport. This one comes in at 273, so not a terrible difference. Pretty significant difference in price, though. This is coming in at $8.99. Currently, it is on sale for $5.59, so always look for this to be on sale. Now, I realize that this is a weight of a 2, and this is a weight of a 3, but I wanted to compare the two. The colors are very similar, and this is it's a light 3 and a light 2, and if you look at the difference between these two, they're really, really similar. Very similar. Again, this is wool and cotton, and this is 80% acrylic and 20% wool. But I have no problem making a sweater out of this. It's going to be light, it's going to be warm and squishy, but not like terribly warm. So I think to me, this is a great alternative to this guy. And the colors to me are very, very similar. All right. This might be a shade warmer than this pink, but really, it's pretty close. All right, now, Heatherly also has their worsted yarn, and that's coming in at a weight of a 4, so I'm not going to compare that to the Hobbii because there's definitely a difference in the thickness there. These two colors are somewhat similar. Obviously, this one's a little bit lighter. This is the Heatherly Cardamom, and this is the Happy Place. So again, this is coming in at $12.50. Now, because it's worsted, you're going to get a little bit less. So on the worsted, you're getting 218 yards per ball or per skein as opposed to 328. The cost on this one is also $5.99. I'm sorry, $8.99, but currently it's on sale for $5.59. So these both come in at $8.99. You're going to get more on this one, 328 yards, as opposed to this one, which is 218 because of the difference in size, but same price on the yarn and same mixture of yarn, 80% acrylic and 20% wool. So if I were going to make a comparison, or I needed some Hobbii, but maybe it was out of my budget to spend $12.50 a ball, then I might look at something like this, which is the Heatherly yarn by We Crochet. Beautiful option. All right. The last one I want to show you is one that I have yet to find a acceptable substitution. So when you ask, what makes you so sad? It would be this one. This is the saddest yarn ever because it is gone, never to be found again. This is by Universal Yarn. It is their Fibra Natural line, and it was called Radiant Cotton. And it was it still exists, only in my hand, 100% Egyptian cotton. It is a weight of a 3, and it is luxurious, and it hangs, and it drapes, and it makes the most beautiful garment. I crocheted this top here, and I am making the matching skirt. Unfortunately, the color that I need, this kind of a cream color, it's called, I think it was called Buttercup or something, no longer exists. It is gone. It is gone. It is gone. It is gone forever. And it makes me very, very sad. And I was so tempted not to make this top, or this bottom basically, because I'm not going to have enough yarn. Here's what I did. So I love this yarn because look at the drape. So this is the skirt that I'm making, but it hangs, and it's 100% Egyptian cotton. So it has this sheen, and it gives it this really wonderful, like luxurious kind of a feel to it. It just has this beautiful weight. It's kind of, they become heavy garments for sure. I made my son a top. There was a company called Bowden, and I kind of did a little bit of a copycat they call it a camp shirt for him. And I made his girlfriend a cardigan out of this beautiful buttercup color that I just loved. Custard, that's what it was called. It's called custard. Anyways, can't find it. I've looked at Etsy. I've looked everywhere. So, and after I went crazy and got like a whole bunch of, one skein here, one skein here, one skein here, I ended up going with this, which is the closest that I could find. It is from Lion Brand. It's called DK Sparkle. It's a 24/7 cotton. It's 100% cotton. And that was a no-brainer. I couldn't not go with 100% cotton because I needed it to feel the same as this. Okay. And I knew I couldn't go with a pure white because when I wanted to wear this skirt together with this top, I couldn't go with a true white or a blue white. I had to go with a creamy color like a custard. Okay. What I found the closest is this one here. It's by Lion Brand 24/7, 100% cotton. It has the same kind of a sheen to it. It has the same weight. This is a weight of a 3. And this also is a weight of a 3 here. And this one, I just love it, love this yarn. So I compared them, and this is a yarn that I finally decided on. And it is, again, it's a 24/7. Now it has a little bit of a sheen to it. So it's not the same. It's kind of far from the same. But when I figured I'm not going to be wearing them like right next to each other, I mean, the colors are going to be somewhat separated, but it seemed to be the closest. So here you can see this is the top in the custard and the green. And this is the bottom in the custard. Well, it's not custard and the green, but if you look closely, there's just a slightest little bit of a sheen to it. But it's going to have to be what it's going to have to be. This one makes me very sad. So you can see there is a difference. There is a difference. It's going to have to be what it's going to have to be. At least I'm not putting them in the same garment where they're going to be smooshed up against each other. They're two separate garments that I'm going to be wearing separately, and I hope it's going to be okay because I'm really excited about finishing this top. So when I can't find the match, and I've gone through my stash and whatever else, what do? But I have two websites that I go to. One is Ravelry.com and the other is Yarn Sub. So let's go head over to the computer and I'm going to show you how I can try to find my substitutions. And sometimes I have a substitution in my stash and sometimes I don't. But let's take a look and I'll show you what I do. So if I don't have enough yarn, or I don't think I have a good substitution in my stash, then I'm going to go over here and find my two favorite places to go are either going to be Ravelry or Yarn Substitution. Let's look at Ravelry first. So this is my Ravelry page, and I'm getting better at this, but what I do is when I get a yarn, before I start using it, I will go ahead and I will enter it into my stash. And so here I will go ahead and put in, and you can enter all the information, the yarn type. You can adjust the quantities if you want to put it in as where you purchased it. I mean, you can go as deep with this as you want. And then whether or not you want to have it for sale. And that means if there's somebody else on Ravelry who is interested in finding that yarn, if you're interested in selling that yarn, you can go ahead and put it in there, and then it becomes a secondary marketplace. I don't actually like to sell my stash, but what I find is really useful in this part of Ravelry is that if I'm looking for a particular pattern, it might say, you know, if you don't have this particular yarn, this might work in your stash. So let's go ahead and check out a pattern. And, okay. So let's say I'm looking at this pattern right here. Now, I may not have this yarn, or maybe I don't want to buy this yarn. Maybe I want to see what's in my stash. If you update your stash side with what you've got in your own personal stash, Ravelry will populate this box here, and it will tell me this is a yarn that has already been used by another pattern person, and they've used it once or twice or whatever it is. And so you might go, oh, you know what? I have that in my stash because it's entered, and then you can use that yarn. So I find this feature in Ravelry really helpful. And again, it's only going to be as good as your stash is comprehensive. So I've tried really hard now as I get yarns, then I go ahead and enter it here into my stash. Here you can see I have all of my knit picks Heatherly worsted. Now, I haven't been uploading pictures because it's from my own stash. I have to take a picture and download it and save it, or you can just pull it off of the internet as well. As you can see, I did here, I had this yarn, I had it in the colorway, and so I just uploaded the picture. Now that's not actually my picture. That is a picture that someone else uploaded. So I don't have that many. I have a 7 in my stash where it shows here's 8, but at least I can look at it and I know the colors and I know what I've got. And then as you use it, you can adjust the quantity down to 0 or whatever you've got left. But I find this to be a really useful tool to use it as a substitution tool. So once again, it's only as accurate as your stash is, but this is a really good way just to see what you've got and then to see what would be a good substitution. Now, if you haven't used this feature in Ravelry or it's not really up to date, the most comprehensive yarn substitution site that I have found on the internet is called Yarn Sub. So let's say here I want to find a substitute for my Schitt's Creek Lion brand. So I'm going to put in here and see what it comes up with. So here it has, did you mean? So this yarn has been discontinued, as we know, and this was one of my all-time favorites to use, and I was really, really bummed. But what it's going to do is, so this is the yarn here. It talks about the factors, the description of the yarn and the attributes of the yarn here. And then down here, it's going to give you your suggested substitutes. And here it's going to tell you exactly the percentage. So this is an excellent match, this Cascade Anthem yarns. And it tells you why it is an excellent match. So here the textures of the yarn is 3-ply. The gauge is an exact match. The fiber content matches exactly. The qualities of this yarn are a very close match, and then it's going to look at the yarn comes in 170 meter balls. So here it tells you if it's not the right size quantity in the yardage, then it'll tell you how many balls. So for this, the Cascade Anthem, I would need 2 balls for every 1 yarn or 1 ball of my Lions brand, the Schitt's Creek Lions brand. And then here it talks about the different colors. They might be a little bit off as well. And this is available through Lovecrafts. And if you want, you can just go right to the website. I don't have any of this yarn in my stash
The Infinity Hearts by Primula, I don't have any of that as at either. This here, Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling, this is the one that I do have. And when I actually reached out to the company and said, what are you doing about Schitt's Creek? Are you discontinuing it? They recommended going here with the Basic Stitch. And I'm going to show you here in a second just how close these two are. So this one here, the Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling, is my go-to, my match when it comes to Lion Brand. The reason being is, A, it's the same company. So I figure that the color ways are pretty much going to be the same or even identical, right? The texture of the yarn is 3-ply. I really like the feeling of the Schitt's Creek. It has a little bit of a sheen, and for being acrylic, it is really, really soft. It's not scratchy at all. The gauge is an exact match. The fiber content matches exactly. The qualities of the yarn are very close match. This yarn comes in a variety of ball sizes, and the colors for this yarn, again, solid colors, multicolors, but you can see it's a 99% match. And I know for a fact that Lion's Brand just basically took some of their Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling and they rebranded it under the Schitt's Creek line. And it was only good until it was just a promotional campaign that they did with that show. Karen Simply Soft. I have this yarn. I like it. This to me is a little too slippery, a little too sheen compared to the Lion's Brand Schitt's Creek. So I wouldn't go with this just because I know how the yarn feels. This would not be my number one match. But you can see there's a lot of options that we have here that you can go through. So like I said, if I'm looking for a match, Ravelry or the yarnsub.com are going to be my two go-tos here. And you can see there's a lot of options for this yarn. So I was bummed when it went away, but I do know that I can get it in a lot of other different places, and it's pretty close to it. Now this Radiant Cotton yarn is a really sad point for me. I have loved this yarn. It's great for garments. It's 100% Egyptian cotton. It's got this beautiful sheen and it's got a really nice weight to it. So any garments you make are going to drape just beautifully. I've made sweaters and cardigans. I'm making a skirt and a top with it right now. And I'm so sad that it's been discontinued. So I did put it in here to the yarn sub to see what came up with. And the closest it came up to was this Cascade Yarns Fixation. I don't have this. It says that it's a 98% match, which is pretty good. The texture of the yarn is also plied, 3 or more plies. The gauge is an exact match. The fiber content is similar. This yarn, unfortunately, contains some elastic, which is fine, but I know that the fiber natural is 100% Egyptian cotton. That's one of the things that I really, really liked about it. I loved its sheen. So I'm not sure that this Cascade Fixation is going to feel the same. It says the quality of the yarns are very close match. I don't know if this is Egyptian cotton or not, because here, this one only says cotton, but I happen to know from the label it's Egyptian cotton. It comes in 91 meter balls, so it means that I would need 2.3 balls of this yarn to equal to what I've got here. So the yardage is a little bit off. And then of course the colors. Now, my biggest problem with this was that with the Radiant Cotton, there was a cream that they had that was just beautiful. And it was called Buttercream, I think, or Butter. And it's just the slightest shade of it's like a warmer white. And it's going to be really hard to find. So sometimes you try and you just can't make it happen. Now, the company, Universal Yarn, I mean, they're always coming out with new yarns. So I'm hoping that they're going to come out with something very similar to the Radiant Cotton. And maybe we'll be able to find a match there somewhere. But, at least I can try.
Well, there you go. So do the best you can. Try to, if you know you're going to be doing a project and, you're thinking maybe this yarn's going to go out, then make sure you get all the same colors, everything that you need for that project all at once. So you're not going to play yarn chicken and you're not going to run out. And a good rule of thumb is always, if you can, to match up the dye lot numbers. So if you look at the back of a label, it's always going to tell you the dye lot. Sometimes a yarn doesn't have a dye lot. Sometimes it's like, this is what it is. The color's going to be the same. Sometimes they do. So if you have a dye lot color And usually the number's going to come up and it's going to look something like this. Make sure that those die lots match. So look at the numbers on the back. Yeah, this here is going to be your die lot number. Make sure all those colors match. All those die lots are the same. What that tells you is that when this yarn was made in the really, really big batch, they were all in the same batch. So you know all of those yarns are going to be the same color. Otherwise, I have great success with Yarn Sub and or Ravelry. And that Ravelry database is only going to be as dynamic if you're looking in your own stash as you know, what you put in, you get out. But I have found it to be really, really helpful when I am trying to find good substitutions for yarns or match them. If I'm trying to find an exact match to something that I have in my stash that I love, then I go over to Yarn Sub. I hope that helps. I hope it gave you some insight. And you know what, like I said, sometimes when a relationship is over, we just have to embrace it and say, it was wonderful. It was good while it lasted. But some things come into our lives for a reason, a season, or always. Thanks so much for watching. This is Kimberly with Knit for Brains. And as always, I'll see you soon.